I guess unless you're on like if you turn your thing to auto, if you could still do that. Anyway, let's go ahead and sim to mid-season, which I think is what trade deadline week. I'm assuming week 8, week 9. Okay. Well, we can still look at this without looking at the rest of the trades. Okay, so first of all, let's look at his re-signs. It's important to note because we knew going into this that he wasn't going to be able to re-sign any of these guys. Because, I mean, you go in and look at it now, minus 37, that's about where he was, or is, I guess, right now as far as re-signs. Nicole Roby Coleman, Super Bowl champion with Falcons, Madden 20, but really 88 speed, going on 29 years old, wants $10 million deal. You don't want to give him that anyway. So, yeah. Jason Peters is going to retire. I mean, I promise you he's going to retire. We're going to get there, but I mean, he's 38 years old. They don't stick around after that. Marquise Goodwin, you're going to kind of miss because of the speed. That sort of sucks. But he also is 29 and wants a 3-year deal. He's going to be 30 years old. He'll be 33 at the end of it. And obviously the speed will regress. So by the time the contract's over, that's really not that big of a deal. Will Parks, trash. Finney Curry, useless. The rest of these players, I mean, who cares? They're all not very good. So, I mean, really, the only kind of drawback to that is Goodwin and Coleman. And even that, they're 28 and 29 years old. One's slow, one's fast, but older and normal dev, so the regression's going to hit harder. It'll hit after this offseason. Probably, I don't know what he'll maybe drop down to like 95 speed. And it's not like he's going to get a breakout anyway. So knowing that, I know he's got a trade out there right now for Derek Barnett. I don't know if that's a good idea right now. Just look at it. Well, let's go like this. All right, so Derek Barnett. Let's look at his contract. Okay, so yeah, that's what I thought. This is the case where the Eagles in real life have already picked up his 5th-year rookie option as a first-round pick. So that 2021 number is $10 million pure salary, no cap penalty at all on that, but $10 million due to Derek Barnett for next year. So while it looks like right now, if he's going to trade Ruby Coleman, or not Ruby Coleman, Barnett, yeah, I mean, this one I can go either way. I mean, we're going to get into other moves he has to make anyway because that 1.87 is going to come out of this offseason where he's going to be tight anyway. But either way, he's going to make $10 million next year. So if he gets good enough value for him, which I think he got a second round pick from Seattle from Lucky, which isn't, I mean, it's not really that good a value, but it's decent. Basically, it's just you weigh that 1.87 when you're up against a cap versus the second round pick and decide whether it's worth it. Obviously, Ryan thinks it is. And he's going to have a young roster anyway next year because of all the draft picks he's going to have. So, not a horrible deal by any means. I personally would probably wait until the offseason and then try and move him without the cap penalty. But at least when you get to this point, if you move him now, you don't have to worry about in the offseason. Everybody knows you're up against it in cap space, and they can just wait you out to cut Derek Barnett. He is good enough and young enough where you probably are going to have a market for him regardless of that. Like right now, I know there were a couple suitors trying to come pick him up, even despite the $10 million next year, because he is only 24 and 77. You already saw the 2 upgrades that he's got. So, I mean, either way, you really can't lose there, but it is going to add, almost 2 million more. The other question that we have is Brandon Graham. You're definitely not going to want to trade him now, which, I mean, I guess this is Ryan's last trade, so he's not going to do that anyway. But obviously, you don't want that $10 million coming out now. So that's it. That's all the moves that he's going to make for the rest of the regular season. Okay, if he trades Barnett for the second round pick, I wonder if we can go ahead and just do that. I'll tell you what. I'm going to assume that he will, because that's going to make it harder for us going forward. So I'm going to prove to you guys that we could still do that, even with that making it even harder with 1.87 million. So I'm just going to cut him because that'll be the same as trading him in terms of the Eagles. Okay, just want to make sure they didn't like auto sign Wentz or something. All right, so let's go ahead and advance to the off season and see what we've got here. So this right after the Super Bowl is where what just happened? Sim to off season. Okay, maybe I hit next week or something. Anyway, so this stage in the off season is where Ryan's going to have to really get busy and get this all sorted out. But what I guess a lot of people don't realize when you look at that negative cap number that he's got in the re-signs, that's all of Carson Wentz's dead money coming right there. There's been speculation that it gets spread out. Madden doesn't do that. For those of you that don't know, Madden does it. I mean, it should because there's money guaranteed on the real life contract for different years. But Madden just says, okay, $62 million, boom, next off season we're throwing it in. And then they do it. It's kind of weird. I'm pretty sure it's if you do it before the draft, it will just all flex in here as we look at it here. By the way, you notice for those of you that are concerned about him being able to fill his roster, y'all probably remember at the end of the year you have all these practice squad players signed to your roster. So now he's at 63. I mean, yeah, they're all fucking terrible. Clicked on the wrong thing. But they're roster fillers. Back when I was having struggles with the Falcons, I didn't have that because I had cut all of my practice squad guys to try and squeeze every little bit of cap room. But in this case, I mean, if you just have to fill the roster, I mean, who cares? Injuries, yeah, we've seen them, but third string at certain positions really doesn't make that much of a difference. So, like these 58, your 10th offensive lineman at 58 overall, who gives a damn? And I think that guy was already on the roster because you see bonus here, but you see these other guys here, like with a 0 penalty. Yeah, like right here with a 290K. This is under contract for next year. For that's less than you can even sign a free agent during the free agency period that we're about to get into. He's 330K. Like, who cares? He's a body. If you are worried about getting a 53, keep these guys. Just don't let him ever see the field. And then there you go. 290. Like, for those like 5 players I just showed you, that's like 1, maybe 2 players you could pick up in free agency. So the 53 is not a concern as much as everybody seems to think it is. So anyway, going back and looking at the re-signs here, let's just look again at Roby Coleman. So that minus 37.9, and that's with the 750K. So it's really like minus whatever 38.7, something like that. So you 40 million. Let's call it 40 million. You're in the red here. So there you go. You have to clear 40 million, and you have 63 players right now. Okay. So we go over here. We look at the savings when we're at this point of the offseason because the penalty doesn't matter. The true cap number for the next season is both savings and penalty added together. Okay? So Brandon Graham, for example, is going to make whatever 17.93 million, but he only has 4.93 guaranteed of that salary for next year. So you cut him, you clear 13 million right there. I think I told this to Ryan. I think there will be a market for him, just because I don't think free agency first year is going to be very deep. I think there will be a market for him where you can trade him for like a 4th, 5th round pick, something, or you could just cut him. I mean, it's really not the end of the world if you lose a 33-year-old. I mean, he's decent, so that would suck, but just for the sake of getting this figured out for the cap space, we're just going to go ahead and release him. Which is the same thing we did with Barnett and Wentz, of course. Alshon Jeffrey, same thing. I don't think there'll be a market for him actually, just because of how slow he is. So we're gonna go ahead and just release him too. Malik Jackson's an easy one, and this was a player who's got a big cap penalty now, like in BL. But if you go into the offseason, like the way his contract is structured, Madden actually has this right, where most of the guaranteed money is all this 2020 season, not 2021. So they clears up a lot of room. Obviously, you don't want to move Ertz, you don't want to move Cox. Guess what? You don't have to. Jason Kelsey, I don't know. Maybe he wants to trade him. You're definitely going to cut this guy. I mean, this is just simple stuff here. You can get offensive linemen at 70 overall for literally minimum contracts. Go ahead and cut Sudfield. I mean, these are cuts that everybody should know to make going into the offseason anyway. You don't want to pay anyone 70 or below more than the minimum contract because you can get players to sign for a minimum. I mean, even like this guy, he's only 26, but fuck that. I can get. I mean, whatever. You guys, you get the point. You can cut all these guys. Doesn't matter. I think we're probably good by now. Let's look at it. Might be wrong. All right. So yeah, you see the salary here. I mean, you see cap room says minus 80, but that's because the signing bonus is in there for a minimum signing bonus 500K. So right now we're in the green. We are under the cap, whatever the top cap, whatever you call it, and we have 58 players. So there you go. You can easily field a team of 53. You also, I mean, he has options. He's got all these really good older players: Cox, Brooks, Kelsey, Ertz. Who you trade those, clear up more cap room, and you probably get decent value for them. Now, one thing to bear in mind, actually, that I did forget about is that he does have now my first round pick, obviously, and then potentially going to have the Eagles for or second round pick, which are both this year. So those are going to come into play as far as like rookie, whatever it's called, rookie reserve. So in actuality, in BL, once he gets to this point, it might be minus 2 or 3 million in cap room. So yeah, no, that wouldn't technically be in the green. But then, like we said, I mean, he's got from the draft a minimum now of 9 players that he's bringing in. He's already got 5 players more than he actually needs. And like we showed earlier, even just looking at the worst players, obviously you don't want to cut the 290Ks if you don't have to. But like this guy, you can cut and clear up a million. Let's see what else. I mean, this guy you can cut. I mean, any of these guys that are like 60 something overall in normal dev, even if they're young, who gives a shit? Like there's almost a million right there. 5 of these guys you can easily clear enough for your rookie reserve. That the increased amount of rookie reserve that you're going to get from the first round pick from me and the second round pick from Lucky. And you will still probably, I mean, if you cut 5 players, you have 53 right there. Boom. You've got 2 first round draft picks coming in. And once you have all that, you'll be under the cap. Like I said, if there is a free agent that he really wants to go after, he can absolutely try and trade some of these good players. But I mean, looking at the roster, I mean, I don't know what he's going to do with Hurts. But he'll have a quarterback. He'll have Sanders at running back. He's going to have, I mean, Goodwin's not actually going to be there. I don't think, unless his contract, no, because he was showing up in re-sign. But you're going to have Rager and Arcega-Whiteside, which I'm assuming he's deving him also. I mean, maybe he would want to go after a wide receiver via trade. He could trade Goddard, here, who will be in the last year of his rookie deal. You could trade him. Try and get another wide receiver on a rookie deal since you're deving wide receivers anyway. I mean, the O-line, you do have some good ones also left. You don't want to trade Lane Johnson, obviously, because you lose $20 million in cap space. I mean, your defensive line, it's not very good right now anyway, outside of, I guess Hargrave and Cox. But, I mean, that's with Brandon Graham gone. Maybe he can get something for Graham. I mean, the team really is not that good outside of a couple players. You're not gonna do anything with Slay. You're gonna keep Slay. He's gonna stay good for a few years. He's got Avonte Max is good. So he's got 2 starting corners. Safety is a bit of a question there because you're gonna let Parks and Mills go probably. I guess Rodney McLeod, they signed to a contract. Looks like kind of about one. Maybe you can even use your amnesty on like a guy like McLeod. We haven't even gotten into the amnesty yet. We haven't even gotten that far yet. And he could even use it on one of the guys that we already cut just to make it a clean sweep on all the cap space that you clear up there. But like I said, we haven't even gotten that far. Probably Dillard is the guy. I mean, there's another, whatever it is, you know, if you take that away, I don't even know what it's going to be because it'll be weird because it's the off season. But you'll clear. He was a top 10 pick, I think. So that's going to clear a lot of space. And then he actually could. I mean, if you just do everything that I told you, and then amnesty Dillard, you're going to have like $5, $6, $7 million in cap space. You're going to have your whole rookie signed. You're going to already have 53 before the draft. And then you also have options with these veteran players that had the savings amount that, you know, you can go after more free agents and trade some of these veteran players for younger guys. So that's it. Carson Wentz trade, not that big a deal. And the best part is it's only this offseason. So he's doing all of these moves with not that great team now for next year with $62 million that he is going to have for the next season. And just to show you guys that, I'm going to go ahead and advance to the next season because we already had the 53 or whatever, so it doesn't really matter, I don't think. Because if I'm right, which I believe I am, we're going to see when we go into like the free agency, once you're in the preseason and you can just sign all these guys for 1 year, and it should say like $60 million in cap space, something like that. Let's go check it out. Okay, well, I don't know what, that must be practice squad, or I don't know. That's weird. Okay, well, it doesn't. It says -5. I don't know if maybe they auto-made moves. Let's see what the roster did. I probably sound like an idiot on the stream right now. Let's see. Okay. So yeah, we had guys get not re-signed. Still got that. Still got McLeod. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, there are some holes from players that didn't re-sign. But obviously he's got the players that were drafted and is still in the green in the cap space. So, yeah, I mean, it's about what we expected. Just I don't know why the free agency is still showing. Let's look at it. Let's look at it a little more here. Okay. I'm an idiot. So, the penalty is for all of the whole next year. I was getting confused. That makes sense. The penalty comes into play in the off season, and it lasts through all of the next season, not just the off season. That makes a lot of sense. You wouldn't just magically not have that penalty. So, okay, all right. I probably sound like an idiot now, but let's do this. Let's send to mid-season. Now's when we're going to see it when we get into the re-signs for mid-season. So you saw the negative cap number, but that was with AJ Green wanting a $7 million contract and without the Dillard amnesty. So that was $2 million in cap space that we had with 47 players on the roster, not including keeping the what's it called? Practice squad players on the team. So, I mean, first of all, let's just go and look and see what the cap space looks like. John Ross, a free agent. Wow. Okay, so he's got negative cap space right now, but it's only like by $1 million. So yeah, I mean, he's gonna have to get creative and make one more move here. It would appear. at some point. I think amnestying Dillard, he could get the 53 pretty easily. I don't know what happened to all those practice squad players that were on the roster. I guess they just got automatically shifted back um, to the practice squad, which is weird because I didn't think he did that on its own. But nevertheless, we look at the cap space now. And there you go. There's the money that Wentz did. Okay, so it's not just all going into the offseason, but it is all going into just the next season. Okay? So there it is. He gets through one offseason of this shit, and then he's good. He's going to have a shit ton of money. He does have some big names to resign here, definitely, but I mean, I would trade Goddard for sure. Ertz, maybe. I don't know. Kelsey, maybe even too. But he's going to have plenty of money to do whatever he wants here. I mean, even if you sign those three players, what is the average here? So that's 7 million, 7 million, 10 million, 10 million. So what? $34 million out of the 90 he has free going into the next year. So he's going to have 60 to use on any of these guys, and then free agency next year. So long story short, using the amnesty on that guy Dillard that I mentioned, and then trying to keep those little practice squad players who are super cheap on the roster. I don't know. Again, I don't understand why they just went back, into the abyss, I guess. But anyway, that's how he does it. And even when we saw he had $47 million or 47 players, $2 or so million in cap space at the beginning of the season, even with all of those super cheap players off the roster. And, that's workable. I mean, that's not ideal because then you're going to have to make a move, but that's workable at least. So, keep the practice squad players. You're definitely good. Even if you don't, you're probably still fine. You just might have to make one more move. So, there it is. And then the next offseason, you have all the money. There it is. All right. Had a few struggles there and trying to get everything sorted out, but I think we did. Guys have any questions, comments, concerns, DM me, but I think we just about figured out everything here, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. But thank you guys for